Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and today we'll be taking a look at what we know so far about the Sage job coming in Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Now, in the recent letter from the producer live, Yoshi P played the job a bit on stream, and like with my Reaper video, since he hovered over a ton of skills, we can unofficially translate a bunch of them and unpack just how the job is supposed to play. So let's go over what we know, assess the job's overall theme, and I'll give my thoughts on it. So for the translations for these skills, we'll be using unofficial translations provided by Reddit user Maglin. Remember that all of this stuff is subject to change. That includes icons, names, potencies, effects, every single thing. We'll definitely be revisiting this stuff again before the expansion launch to see if anything changes. So Sage's primary role is that of a barrier healer, providing powerful shields to allies to prevent damage. However, its job identity can be defined by many different traits based on these unofficial translations. First is its Cardia skill. Now, Sages are able to partner with one ally, or themselves if need be, using the Cardia skill. While they are partnered with someone, all of their offensive skills will heal their partner in one way or another. This means that the job provides a ton of healing by also dealing damage. This effect can even be doubled with the Soteria skill, allowing for even more healing from their damage. That should resonate quite well with 14's overall design because it's fairly common for healers to contribute to damage. Now, the job does have a few basic spells like the other healers. Dosis is a single target damaging skill, which remember, will heal your Cardia partner. Diagnosis is a single target heal, and Prognosis is an AoE heal. Nothing fancy at all there. However, Sage can use their Eucrasia skill to empower these skills and grant them new effects. Now, Eucrasia appears to have no real restrictions other than a 1-second recast, so it's really just a matter of only using it when you need the enhanced effects. Eucrasia Dosis will apply a damage over time effect that you'll want to be maintaining, while Diagnosis and Prognosis will provide shields when they are Eucrasia'd at the cost of some of their healing potency. You'll want to maintain the Eucrasia dot most of the time, and make sure to Eucrasia your heals whenever you need shields. You can also use the Pepsis skill to cancel the shields you've applied with your Eucrasia heals to instantly heal those players a second time. Effectively, it doubles the heal potency from those spells. I do wonder if you can cancel partially damaged shields for the same amount of healing or not, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, they do also have some off-global heal skills, but they have moderately long cooldowns. Holyism is an instant AoE heal, Physis is a weaker heal, but it has a regen, and Physis 2 is a stronger AoE heal and regen that also applies a healing received buff. It's quite a bit of regens for a barrier healer, but I guess, Scholar does have like the soil regen and Whispering Dawn, and the fairy itself is kind of like a heal over time. So I'm really curious to see Scholar's updated kit to see if they have maybe another regen or two in their kit as well, because these jobs really just have like 2, maybe 3 shields, and then it's a lot of other direct or healing over time skills. At least that's how it has been so far. So really curious to see Scholar's update as well. Now, there are still more job mechanics exclusive to the Sage. The first is Adder's Gall. This is the job gauge that gradually fills up and then fills one of those ovals on the top. You can have up to 3 of these, and there are several spells you can use them on. Doracall is an instant single target heal. Exocall is an instant AoE heal, but it does have a cooldown. Toracall is a single target heal and damage reduction on that target. And Caracol is a party-wide damage reduction and a regen, similar to like Sacred Soil. The damage reduction from Toracol and Caracol can't stack, but you're going to want to be using these very frequently, because every Gall you use actually restores a bit of MP. Not to mention, you're saving global cooldowns to keep dealing damage by using these skills. Now, they do have one more job mechanic, but we're going to cover some of their other basic skills before we talk about that much. Dyscrasia is a basic AoE DPS spell that is point blank, similar to Art of War. And Phlegma is an even stronger AoE that's on the global cooldown that isn't point blank. Phlegma stacks up to 2 charges, you gain 1 every 45 seconds, and it does hit significantly harder. Despite being AoE though, its potency is higher than Dosis, so definitely make sure not to let these charges overcap if this stays the same by launch. Then there is Toxicon. Now, this is a stronger AoE spell that can only be accessed when the Sage has a stack of Adder's Sting. This appears to be gained when a target with Eucrasia Diagnosis is hit or perhaps has their shield broken. We see it in the job action trailer, and it's not 100% clear, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting the finished tooltip for this in the coming months. It's instant and ranged, but it does about the same potency as Dosis 3. makes it a solid movement tool even on single target DPS, and is going to be a very powerful dungeon tool. And finally, they have Numa. This is a line AoE laser with a short charge time that deals damage, heals in an AoE around the Sage, and also grants damage reduction. It has a pretty long cooldown, as it seems in the footage that we see, but its wide array of effects make it an important staple, especially considering that it deals damage, so you probably don't want to be sitting on it for too long. And then they do have a few other basic abilities. They have a resurrection, of course, with a Gyro, and they even have a movement skill in the form of Icarus. This lets them dash to allies or enemies, but it has a pretty long cooldown. So with what we can see, the job has a lot of components to try and allow it to consistently deal damage while also giving it strong movement options. Its healing potencies don't seem too crazy, but it's really hard to judge that specific component because we don't know anything about the other three healers, or at least we don't know potencies or changed effects other than the tiny details they gave us at the letter from the producer live. So Sage seems like it's going to be shiny and awesome and amazing because we're trying to think about comparing it to our Shadowbringers healers without fully understanding what's changed about the other healers in the first place. So I'm definitely going to be keeping a close eye on this, especially against Scholar, because, you know, everyone's memeing right now, Scholar's dead, Scholar's dead. This happens whenever there's a new job that looks fancy and flashy and we have all this extra information that we don't have over the other jobs, but we'll have to wait and see. We won't know for certain exactly how it stacks up against the competition until a little bit later. There's also some buttons we still don't even know what they do on Sage. Yoshida used like 3 skills that provided single target and AoE stacking buffs. Maybe it's like every time you get hit, you get something. And there was even a buff he gave himself. Who knows? Maybe that's a healing buff. Maybe that interacts with Cardia in some way. We don't know. We don't have tooltips. He never really used anything once he used those skills, so those are still a mystery. But they're probably pretty important because they were like 2-minute long cooldowns, so we're gonna have to wait to finish, but I'm really excited because this is a very, what seems to be busy job when it comes to optimizing your damage and your healing, because they really are one in the same. The rest of Final Fantasy XIV, it's about pumping out damage while trying to use as little healing as you need. But this has so many of both components that it's hard to tell if this is indicative of Final Fantasy XIV's encounter design going into Endwalker being a little bit more about trying to mix and match both of them as a healer and that being the expectation, or if it's just something that early Sage, you know, what we're seeing that's still in development is largely experimental and could change by the time launch comes out. So I'm really, really excited to see how all the healers end up stacking up against what we know about Sage, because it's just looking like it's going to be a bit busier of a time than I think some of us are used to with Shadowbringers healing. And with that, that's going to be a wrap for my video. First impressions, overview on what we know about Sage so far. If you're excited about the job, let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. We've got more speculation and other stuff coming on the stuff we learned from the live letter. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of stuff coming down the road for all the job changes and all that good stuff. But anyway, thanks for watching. And until next time, take care.